my way too early SEC win total best bet. I'm going to take a more positive slant than Garrett did. Garrett took an under. I'm going to take an over, and I'm going to talk to you about the Tennessee Volunteers. They're sitting there at 8.5 right now as we sit in February. And I think that's grossly low for a team that I think is going to be have improved quarterback play. I think Nico is going to take a step up from where Joe Milton was. He still has, a great number one receiver in Brew McCoy to throw the ball to. They got some really solid transfers in. They have a top 15 recruiting class coming in. The defense is going to be a little bend and break like it always has been over the last few years under Josh Heupel, but I'm not going to question the pass rush, and I'm not going to question, stepping up and getting big opportunistic plays, because we've seen that time and time again with Tennessee under Josh Heupel. So if you're telling me they've got good to great quarterback play and great to elite pass rush, that's a recipe for a really solid season. They've got the schedule to possibly make some noise. Let me run through it real quick. I'll give you the highlights. Only 4 true road games in this entire schedule. And those 4 true road games are at Oklahoma, at Arkansas, at Georgia, and at Vanderbilt. 3 of those 4, I would say, are extremely winnable. I don't know what Oklahoma is going to be next year. I'm not as high on the Sooners as some are.
Yeah,
Vegas
same.
is not as high on them either at the 7.5 win total. I'm kind of penciling that in as a big win to start off the season for Tennessee at this point. Arkansas, we don't know what they're going to be with a whole new offensive coaching staff and a new quarterback situation. Georgia's going to be tough, obviously, and Vandy's Vandy, right? I think that's
Right.
you're looking if you can win 3 of those 4, and you just need to win, 6 more of your home games, and three of those are just absolute gimmies, then that's a good recipe for me for hitting this over at 8.5. They've got Chattanooga, a neutral site game against NC State and Charlotte, Kent State, and UTEP as their non-conference games. 4-0 right there. You're sitting at 7. Then you just got to get 2 of the 3 of Florida, Alabama, and Kentucky and Mississippi State. The wins are adding up for me, Garrett, and I think this is going to be a really exciting offense. They're going to put up a lot of points, and they got a lot of teams on their schedule that I just, even if the defense isn't elite, I don't know that they can keep up offensively with Tennessee, and that might be the recipe this year.
For sure. And for me, the big question about Tennessee was, what's up at the quarterback spot, right? Because last year we thought, okay, well, Milton's going to be the guy. Didn't really work out. With Nico coming in, I think Nico's going to be a lot better. He showed a lot in the bowl game. And obviously anything could happen. A good bowl game does not next year's quarterback make. But at the same time, I think he showed a lot in terms of what he can bring to the table. And so I look at that, and then I also combine it. Yeah, it's a really favorable schedule. I think they can sweep their out of conference. Like you're saying, the road games should be somewhat easy. Oklahoma, I think they'll be a team that'll be better in the second half of the year. I don't think that they'll start super strong, but I do think they figure it out as the year goes along. Arkansas, that should be a dub. And then you get, Vanderbilt, that should be a dub. Georgia, you're probably going to lose that one. And then you get Bama at home. Obviously, I think a lot of people expect that to be a loss. Anything could happen. And then, it's like Florida, probably not the best season for Florida. Kentucky, probably not the best season for Kentucky. Mississippi State, also not expecting a whole lot. So there's some real wins on this schedule where I think you would have to say, even with a mediocre team, I think you would expect a lot of these games to be won by the mediocre team in that situation. And then if you just give Tennessee better chances than a mediocre, right? If they're just like a good offense with an okay defense, or like even a really good offense with a bad defense. We've seen that kind of work for some teams in the past, not to championship levels, but to 9 wins. Yeah, they can get to 9 wins on this schedule. I think there's really only 2 games I would say are for sure losses. After that, I find, up to 10 wins for Tennessee.
And that Alabama game, crazier things have happened than them beating Alabama at home. So, if you tell me that they can get past Alabama, then you're talking about a real shot at the college football playoff.
They would have beaten them 2 years in a row if it wasn't for the fact they forgot how to play football in the second half.
Exactly. So, and that's with Nick Saban. So
I was with Nick Saban, yeah.
I see only one probable loss on this schedule, and that doesn't mean they're going to go 11-1, obviously. But I
True.
think in a vacuum, that Alabama game's a toss up to me. Like it's straight up 50-50 if I'm
Yeah.
having to pick it right now in February with what I don't know about both teams. So
Well, and the kind of good news is it sandwiches really nice on their schedule too. They get a bye
yep,
week at Arkansas, Florida, and then Alabama, then another bye week. So
yep.
they kind of get to sandwich their tough game. The schedule is very favorable for Tennessee this year. I don't think this is a championship team, but if you were saying, end of the year, Tennessee's a 10-win team, wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, and 10 wins is college football playoff this year, most
There's
likely,
a real chance, yeah.
unless some crazy things happen nationally that keep them out of it. I'll throw one more in here at the end because I got to shout them out. Vandy's over under is 2.5, and they have Alcorn State, Georgia State, and Ball State on their schedule. So Vandy, if we don't hit the over, it's time to disband the football program. We gotta have some real conversations about pouring that NIL money into baseball and remodeling our atrocious basketball gym because there's just no excuse for not hitting the over with those two.
They should find a way to remodel that basketball gym anyways, man. That's a disaster.
Yeah, it's a fossil, an archaeological wonder, the eighth wonder of the world, maybe of the ancient world. But it's time to
That's
not
the
play.
Kibby Dome, man. I don't know what you're talking about, man.
It's time to not play Division I Power 5 basketball there.
Gracious him! How about that?